Let me in now, and it can be nice. Make me go now, and I have to come back. Not once, not twice, but as many times as I like.
Was that good? Did you guys like that? Oh, oh, thanks guys. Thank you so much. Oh my, oh, you don't need to clap. That's really, please. No, guys, sit down, please. You're too kind. You're too kind. It's only the start of the video. Oh my goodness. But welcome and hello everybody to another video. If you're new here, hi, welcome, good to see you. If you're not new, hi, welcome back, good to see you again. Hope you're doing so wonderful and amazing and fantastic. Today we're doing something that's a little bit more chill, a little more laid back. That would be very ranty and rambly, so we'll see how this goes. But if you couldn't tell by the super sick intro, man, we are doing some Longlegs fan art and talking about Longlegs because I love this movie. It was my most anticipated movie of 2024, and me personally, it exceeded my expectations, and I love this movie. I love talking about this movie, and I'm really excited to get into it with y'all today. I'm just going to be talking about the art that's being made, what were my inspirations, and a little bit of my process before we just dive into the 9 circles of hyperfixation ramble hell. After seeing Longlegs for the first time in theaters, I just had this intense amounts of like bottled up creative energy, and I was like, I need to make some fan art right now or I will explode. And I haven't had that same sort of spark of I need to make fan art energy for a movie in quite a while. Most of the time, the fan art I enjoy making is just like my comfort food, like Elden Ring, Zelda, Mega Man, off, all that stuff. So this was like really fun to kind of push myself a little bit and create something that was like themed and just a little bit different to what I normally do. I wanted to recreate well, not so much recreate, but I wanted to make a fake book / movie poster inspired by the styles of like 80s, 70s, or just retro horror media that had the very contrasty like rendering style that was in like colored pencil or like acrylic paint or something. I don't know if there's a name for this style, but I'll at least show a few examples that I kind of took inspiration from for this piece. While I had a lot of fun rendering this, I had so much trouble with the face. I don't know why, because I think it was just because I was only rendering like a broken part of the face, so it's like cut off. So most of the time when I would render a face, I have the context of, oh, their nose and their eyes and like what the rest of their head looks like when in this similar lighting setup. And I was like, ugh, I just so badly want it to look clean. What is wrong with me? Are my art powers going away? Like, whoa. But thankfully, this was a really great learning experience because sometimes I get a little rusty with my rendering skills, and every once in a while, a piece like this will really not only act as a nice, just creative outlet, but also a means of re-familiarizing myself with, old techniques that I used to use in stuff like that, art mumbo jumbo. But other than that, I had a lot of fun working on this piece. It was super fun to make some fan art for a movie that I just had a really great time watching, and it was really fun keeping up with the trailers and all that stuff up until it released, and all of it to kind of come together into a piece that I think really exemplifies my appreciation for this movie, because I really do appreciate it a lot, and I appreciate the people who worked on it. You all did such a great job. So good. Big old thumbs up, golden star, each and every one of yous. But now, let's cut the chit chat and talk about the real meat and potatoes of this video. The movie itself. Longlegs. What is it even about? What the heck are we even doing here? Well, I won't be doing a recap because I think y'all should go watch it yourself if you haven't seen it already. Very worth it, very cool, very groovy, very vibey. But I will just be speaking on my personal experience with this movie and why I enjoy it, how I enjoy it and how it's inspired me and what I didn't like about it, just like, the little things and stuff. Because while I think praising art is important because it helps kind of remove this hypercritical, mean-spirited aura of media discussion, there are just a few things about this movie that I can't not look away from. So feel free to let me know your thoughts and opinions and even theories down in the comments below, because talking about this movie and just kind of its established I hesitate to say lore, but I don't know what else to say. But just the context and background information of this movie is really fun to pick apart and speculate upon. But other than it being super fun to speculate and pick apart, what did I like about this movie in particular? Well, for starters, I have become a little bit of a fan of the director, Osgood Perkins. I had heard about him like back in high school when I was a really big fan of a lot of like movie critic YouTubers and stuff, and the public opinion was he wasn't really good at directing, and that his first movie, The Blackcoat's Daughter, was very bad and no one liked it. And of course, me being a goober teenager, I was like, yep, I agree with that. Have I seen it? Oh no, of course not. But now that I'm older and I'm cool and I've cultivated my own opinions and tastes, I really like The Blackcoat's Daughter. I think it's very vibey. It has very much a lot of Osgood Perkins's, I don't know, what would you call him? Just his quirks. He has a very, what has been described as a horror purist approach to directing. There aren't too many, sudden jump scares that are just like meant to scare the audience or like keep them awake while the movie goes. They're very intentional and like planned out, and a lot of the subtext in his movies and the themes are derived from his own personal experiences. And he's lived a very tumultuous life, to be sure. He has a very interesting legacy in the fact that he's a bit of a nepo baby, his dad being Anthony Perkins, actor of Norman Bates in Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, which you could argue is the reason why Longlegs as a movie even exists. I really vibe with Osgood Perkins' way of directing horror, and I'm very excited to see what he does in his future projects. His next movie is The Monkey, which is an adapted piece of material. It's based on a story from Stephen King, so I'm very excited to see what he does with some adapted material. Looks like a devilishly good time, but we'll just have to wait and see. But switching gears back to talking about Longlegs, I want to discuss my pros and cons with the movie. My cons are very small. I think it's just 2, so I'll just start off with those. My first con is the ending exposition dump is a little silly, which this movie has in silly moments and moments of brevity, so it's fine. But in this particular moment, I don't think it was meant to do that. It's the ending scene where everything's revealed. Lee's mom, Ruth, is the accomplice of Longlegs, blah, blah, blah. So we get to see this flashback exposition dump sort of thing, which I don't mind exposition dumps. You have to convey information somehow. But when they're utilized correctly, they're effective. In this case, I don't think it was as effective as it could have been, because there's just a moment in Ruth's monologue where she says, I used to be a nurse and now my work would be murdering families. And it's just like, okay, Ruth, why'd you have to say it like that? We know. Hey girl, we know. So that was just like a weird kind of thing where I wonder if it was like kind of thrown in last minute or written in as to sort of help out with like audiences. I'm not sure, but I think that it could have been just a little bit, more fleshed out. I don't mind that there's a exposition speech from Lee's mom in the form of a flashback, because I think it does kind of help tie up a few loose ends and shows what happened after the initial meeting between Lee and Longlegs when the movie starts. But that was just kind of, it took me out a little bit when seeing it in theaters. I was like, okay, that was weird, but whatever, moving on. My other con is, like, it's a bit of a, I don't know if it's a plot hole, it's just a bit of a convoluted plot point. And that is with the camera family and how that event went down. Because as we know, in the movie, the camera family, what made them different from the rest of the, family victims was that the daughter was able to survive because she wasn't at home at the time of the killing. However, a priest who was visiting the home once the, devil magic was setting in was killed, But after it is revealed that Ruth is the one who drops off the doll, it kind of makes the flashback scenes we see just feel a little confusing. And I don't know if it's because I'm just dumb and maybe it's just clear as day and like right in front of my face. But if we are to watch the flashbacks in order, right? Ruth arrives, drops off the doll. We see Carrie Ann unveil the doll, and then we see how it starts to affect the family. The dad cuts off the head of a cow. The mom, unleashes her inner years of motherly rage on the doll. And Carrie Ann goes to school. The priest arrives. The mom and dad are fully just, gone mentally. They are now fully under the control of the devil. And that's when the priest is killed. The father kills the mom. And then, as we assume, the father then kills himself. But my question is, how long is Ruth hanging out at the camera family home? Because I am willing to suspend my belief that maybe the camera family was her first outing as Longlegs' accomplice, and maybe she was just nervous and that's why it was sloppy or whatever. Because I'm it's not uncommon for people who work at the church to do early door-to-doors and stuff. I've had it happen to me, whatever. But my confusion is just seeing the other scenes, right, of the mom and the dad doing their own thing. I'm just Ruth, were you just hanging out at their house for an hour or so after you dropped it off? Just be yeah, I just just having a glass of water in the kitchen. It's I can't help but sort of, my suspension of belief begins to go down because I'm just now trying to figure out and understand what's happening off screen. My working theory, or not working theory, but my current fan theory of that plot point is that it was probably one of Ruth's first killings, and so it was just really messy and stuff, hence why the priest showed up and Carrie Ann wasn't there, and maybe even the doll took it stalled in its effects, so she hung out just around the house to maybe double check and make sure things weren't going poorly. Because then my other thing is maybe she even dropped off the doll and that everything was copacetic and fine. She was okay, well, I'm just gonna go now. And then when she comes back, that's when the priest returns, and then all hell murder breaks loose, and then that's when she's covered in blood. So I don't know. Let me know what your theories are, if you have any, if you've seen this movie and have a better understanding of that scene, because maybe it's just in plain sight and I'm just missing out on it. Who knows? But it's just a little plot point where it's just a little confusing, but it doesn't destroy my entire enjoyment of the movie, because I just really like the build-up, the plot, and the characters so much. So that's just those are my kind of cons of the movie itself. But now to talk about the pros that I have and what I really liked about this movie. To start off, I really liked the cinematography. I love the I love the theme of symmetry throughout the framing of this movie. And until things start to hit the fan, with each act that finishes, because this movie is kind of has 3 acts. So it's part 1, his letters, part 2, All Your Things Part 3 Birthday Girls. And like by the end of the movie, that symmetrical framing device that they use is like completely offset, and it's just a really cool subtle detail that I really appreciate. And speaking of subtle details, the sound design in this movie is also really good. Surprisingly, I wasn't expecting to be so excited about just tiny little noises that overall wouldn't matter in context of like another movie, but in horror it's really cool because it immerses you in the space that these characters are in. Like for example, at the opening of the movie, just young Lee like walking through her house and just the sounds it make, like the door opening, the crunching of the snow, how you can like hear Longlegs like rushing up behind her, like you can hear his clothes like just those details really just, oh my gosh, so creepy, so good, love it a lot. And to kind of continue that, I really love that the devil and his presence in this movie is more than just a quick blink and you'll miss it moment. He is also an auditory cue. Whenever Lee has an instinct of where she should look, or she's being guided to a new clue or something, there's this like high-pitched sort of frequency sound that plays, and she'll like look over her shoulder, or like, you know, all of a sudden like turn the page and like open a book to like, you know, the 9 Rings of Hell or something, and come to the conclusion that, oh shit, like the dates make an upside down triangle, you know. It's the same sound that plays when they find the doll in the Camber family barn and stuff, and they take the doll to the coroner, and he's like, oh, check this out, and he puts his little ultrasound thingamajig to it, and it makes the same noise. Rewatching the movie, I was like, wait, he's been here the whole time. Ooh. And another cool little audio thing, if you want to watch this movie with headphones, you can hear Longlegs at the very start of the movie, like when it's the red background, he's like tuning his guitar and singing his little Mr. Downstairs is at your door. Oh no. It's just little details like that I just love so much, because it adds to the underlying silly and fiendish vibe of this movie. How it starts off with Longlegs like introducing us, and then it ends with him being like, "Hail Satan." Mwah. And then we get the title crawl coming down as if it's descending into hell, which that's just a really fun creative choice that I appreciate a lot. And that's what I overall love about this movie. It just has its own identity. It does its own thing. It's not concerned with being marketable or making too much sense. It's like, this was a horror movie created by people who love horror and want to take everything that they're inspired by to create something new and fresh. Like, obviously, you know, this movie is inspired by Silence of the Lambs. And even Osgood Perkins has said in interviews, you know, Silence of the Lambs was the framework that then created this new story. And I think, you know, inspiration, and as someone who, you know, I take inspiration all the time for like my art style and like the stories I want to make and whatever, I just think it's really cool to see it done so honorably and with so much passion that it just makes me feel like, you know what, if they can do it, so can I. And I just really appreciate this movie a lot, and I'm very excited to see what Neon as just a distribution company does with future more smaller indie horror projects, because, you know, with this movie I could just feel that, and I don't know how to fully describe it, but it just feels like, it just feels different in a really good, fun way. And this movie and Cuckoo, which you know, I'll try not to ramble about that one, but just really knocked it out of the park this year. And I just I appreciate Longlegs so much for being so itself, and and not just Longlegs either, like, you know, as much as Cuckoo feels like its own thing. And it's just very refreshing that the landscape of horror and media is no longer becoming so drowned out by franchises, remakes, remasters, and it's artists and creatives who are like, you know what, I'm very inspired by the things that made me who I am, and I want to do something with that and create something. So yeah, that was really mushy gushy, but I think Longlegs is a really fun, twisted, good time, and it rewards those who enjoy investigating further and looking, reading between the lines and just, piecing things together yourself. And I just think that's really cool. I think that's very special. And I hope that, I can do the same one day. Hopefully, maybe. We'll see. But I'm pretty sure that's about it, what I wanted to say about this movie. Other than that, I would love to hear, what are y'all's opinions? Have you seen the movie? Did you like the movie? And if you didn't like the movie, what were some things that you wish it did better? Or what are some things that, you just didn't really click with? Maybe you just were like, you know what? I don't do well with like religious, demon horror like that. So I was really unsettled. I love talking about horror. I love discussing it. And, this current landscape of movie discussion where things have to be super analytical and smart and whatever. I'm not those things, but I just really appreciate when a movie makes me feel creatively inspired and, and enjoying a good time at the movies. So anyways, if this inspired you to go watch the movie, then please do so. I think it is very much worth your time. And if you want to make it a double feature, I highly recommend watching Blackcoat's Daughter because Kieran and Shipka is in both of them. So it's kind of like, you can almost see it as like a somewhat connected universe. I don't know. But I think that's all. I really enjoyed making this fan art, and I've really enjoyed, how this movie has really creatively inspired me to pursue my own path in horror and what I want to do with it and stuff. And I really appreciate you all enjoying the stuff I have shared that is kind of in that realm. My original characters, my animatics and comics and stuff. So I just really appreciate y'all, and I appreciate y'all listening to me ramble about my favorite movie. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's about it. Thank you all so much for tuning in and listening to me ramble. I hope this was coherent and entertaining, if anything. And if you were drawing, gaming, doing whatever, I hope you finished what you were doing. And if not, that's okay. But anyways, I'm gonna go investigate a murder that has to do with some birthdays and dolls. So in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Bye-bye.
Hey, Mr. Downstairs at your door.